Today we're deep diving into an area that over 90% of wholesalers and even a lot of realtors struggle with, and that is how to calculate ARV the right way. Seriously, I work with a lot of new wholesalers and a lot of realtors, and oftentimes this is the hardest part for them on any deal. And that's a problem because if your comps are off, your ARV is off, and if your ARV is off, the deal is never going to make sense. So today I'm breaking it all the way down, step by step, so that you never mess up your numbers again. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what ARV is, how to find the right comps, how to use the price per square foot method, the top 3 mistakes that will kill your deal, and how to practice comping so that you can get better faster. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Wholesaling Freedom Channel, where I teach you exactly how I quit my 9-to-5 and built a successful wholesaling business and how you can do it too. If you're new here, my name is Ralph and I quit the rat race to become a full-time real estate entrepreneur. Now my mission is to help you do the same thing. Calculating ARV is arguably one of the most important things to learn if you're trying to wholesale or if you're a flipper. If your ARV is off, your whole deal is screwed right from the very start. All right, so first, what is ARV? ARV stands for After Repair Value. This is the estimated value of a property after it's been fully renovated. Now listen, ARV is not an exact science. ARV is more like an estimation. It's a number that's based on comparable sales, trends, and market conditions. Some buyers will agree with your ARV and others won't. And if you're just starting out, I'm going to be real with you. Comping is going to feel hard at first. You're going to second guess yourself, you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. The more deals you analyze, the better you'll get. Calculating ARV is an art, not a science. Before we talk about comps, we need to talk about house styles. Why? Because you cannot compare a ranch to a colonial. That's like comparing a Toyota Corolla to a Cadillac Escalade. It just doesn't work. So here are the main home styles that you'll need to know. First is a ranch. Now a ranch is a single-story home, usually rectangular or L-shaped, and it's often built from the 50s to the early 70s. These are great for older buyers or people who can't really use the stairs in their homes. Second is a colonial. Colonial homes are 2-story properties, symmetrical design, and usually have a central staircase. These are very common in suburban areas. Third is a Cape Cod. Now a Cape Cod is a 1.5-story home with a steep roof and usually has dormer windows at the top level. It's a smaller, charming home, and these types of properties are more common in the Northeast. A Tudor style home is a fancy looking home with steep gable roofs and decorative wood trim. These homes are very unique and harder to comp because of their distinct style. It's very unlikely that you'll have to comp a Tudor property. A cottage is a smaller, cozier home with a pitched roof and charming details. Think of that storybook feel. It's like cute but compact. Then we have a townhome. A townhome or a townhouse is a multi-floor home attached to the neighboring units on either one or both sides. These are usually found in cities and newer suburb developments. A split-level house is a home with a staggered floor levels where a part of the house is elevated above the other. These are often confused with bi-level homes, but bi-levels have more variation in floor height. A bi-level home is a home with 2 distinct levels, usually with a short flight of stairs leading up and down right from the entrance. Oftentimes, bi-level homes have a finished lower level. Now the last 3 are duplexes, triplexes, and quadruplexes. These are very easy to remember. A duplex is a 2-unit property with separate entrances for each unit. They're usually stacked upstairs or downstairs or side by side. These are great for rental properties. A triplex is a property with 3 separate units, often similar to a duplex with an additional unit. A quadruplex or a fourplex is a property with 4 separate units, which is the largest you can go before it's considered a commercial real estate property. All right, so why do these all even matter? Because if you're comping a 1,200 square foot ranch, but the comp you're using is a 2,500 square foot colonial or a townhouse, your numbers will be off. If you use that comp to make your offer, you're going to have a bad deal on your hands and you're never going to be able to wholesale it. All right, now let's get into finding comparable sales, or comps for short. The best way to determine ARV is to find recently sold similar properties to yours, the subject property. And these properties should have sold in the same area. Here are the rules to remember when comping. Number 1, stay within a half mile to 3/4 of a mile radius. Do not pull comps from across town. Try to stick to the same neighborhood if possible. In smaller markets, it's okay to go to a mile or a mile and a half out. But if you're comping in cities or urban areas, avoid crossing any major streets or highways if possible. Number 2, look at the sales in the last 6 months. The more recent, the better. Markets change, so a sale from 2 years ago means nothing 2 years later. Typically, I first start out by looking at comps from the past 3 months, and then I work my way back further to the past 6 months if I can't find enough comps. Why does this matter? Well, if you're a flipper, or if you're going to be wholesaling this deal to a flipper, you need to have recent comps. Because when your flipper is finished with the renovation and they go to sell that house to a family, that family is more than likely going to be getting a loan for the property. And the bank that's going to be lending that family the money will want to make sure that they're not being ripped off. So the bank will require an appraisal to be done on the house. Now stay with me here. An appraisal is a report that shows an estimation of value of a property that is done by a licensed appraiser. In determining the value of the property, the appraiser is going to be using recently sold comparable sales or comps, and appraisers have very specific rules that they have to follow when determining value, one of which is finding comps that have sold in the last 6 months. The reason why I start out with comps from 3 months ago or less when I'm analyzing deals is because by the time my buyer fixes up the property and goes to list it for sale, 2 to 3 months may have passed. So when that family goes to get a loan and the bank sends out an appraiser, there's a high likelihood that they may be using comps that I found for my buyer 2 to 3 months prior, because now those comps will probably be around 5 to 6 months old. So definitely still valid for an appraiser to use. However, if all your comps are 6 months old, by the time your buyer fixes up that house and goes to resell it, well, guess what? Now those comps are 8 to 9 months old, and an appraiser will not be able to use them. Number 3, match the house styles. This should be apples to apples comparison. So if your subject property is a single family ranch, all of your comps should be single family ranches. A lot of wholesalers get lazy here and want to rush through this process, and that's when you start substituting and making mistakes. So take your time, be diligent, and find apples to apples comparisons. Number 4, stick to similar square footage. Try to stay within 200 to 300 square feet plus or minus of your subject property. So if your subject property is 1,600 square feet, all of your comps should be between 1,200 and 1,800 square feet. Number 5, check the condition. Your comps need to be fully renovated properties because your ARV is based on what the house will sell for after it's been fixed up. So if you're using comps that have not been renovated, then essentially you're not finding the after repair value because your comps have not been repaired. All right, so here's the secret to comping that I rarely see taught and that a lot of people get wrong. A lot of people just find 3 to 5 comps and then average out their sale price and call it a day. However, that's wrong, and I'm gonna tell you the real way to do it. First, you need to find at least 3 to 5 solid comps that match your subject property apples for apples, following the rules we just went over. Second, don't just average out their prices and call it a day. You have to find the price per square foot for each comp, and the way you do that is you take the sale price of each property and divide it by the square footage. Once you have the price per square foot, you then find the average price per square foot. So to do that, you add up each price per square foot for each comp and then divide it by the total number of comps you used. Now the last step is you take the average price per square foot and you multiply that by your subject property's square footage to get your estimated after repair value. This method smooths out weird sales and gives you a much more accurate estimate. So let's look at a live example here.
All right, so here in our example, we have our subject property, which is 123 Main Street. As you can see here, it's a distressed property, 3 beds, 2 baths, 1,200 square feet. And here we have 3 comps, 123 Apple Street, 123 Banana Street, 123 Strawberry Street. Now, what most people will do is they'll take the average sales price by averaging 360, 375, and 340 and get an average sales price of 358. And most people will assume that this is your ARV. However, this is not your ARV. To find your ARV, the first step you're going to have to do is you're going to have to find out the price per square foot for each of your sold comps. The way you do that is you'll take the purchase price of the property, $360, and you'll divide it by the total square footage of the property, $1,350. So if you see in our example here, $360 divided by $1,350 gives us a price per square foot of $266. Now you want to do the same for the second and the same for the third. and this gives us 267 and 309. Now the next step is to find the average price per square foot of all your sold comps. The way you do this is you'll add up the price per square foot of each comp, and then you'll divide that number by 3. And that'll give us an average price per square foot of $280. Now the final step is to take this $280, your average price per square foot, and multiply it by the total number of square footage of your subject property. And that will give us a total of $336,000. And so what you want to see here is you want to see that if you had just done the initial method of average sales price, your ARV would have been at about $22,000 higher than the true ARV of the property. And so that means that your offer would have been off. And if your offer is off by $22,000, that could be the difference between getting an assignment fee or having a deal that you're going to have to cancel because nobody wants to buy it. So whenever you're looking at ARV, always make sure to use the average price per square foot method.
All right, so now you know the right way to comp. I want to go over the top 3 mistakes to avoid when finding comps and finding your ARV. Mistake number 1. Using outdated sales. The markets change fast. A sale from 12 months ago is not relevant. So if you're using old sales, your ARV may be too low, and that will make your offer too low and not competitive enough with other offers. So you're going to get beat in your market every time by people who are getting the right ARV and making strong offers. Mistake number 2. Ignoring the house style and size. If your subject property is 1,500 square feet, don't compare it to a 3,000 square foot house. If you're using comps that are all much bigger than your subject property, your ARV is going to be way too high and unrealistic for your property. And you're going to end up offering too much, and you're not going to be able to find anybody who's willing to buy that deal. Or if you're a flipper, you're going to guaranteed lose money on that deal because your numbers were off. Mistake number 3. Not adjusting for condition. A fully renovated house is not the same thing as a livable but outdated home. Always get your ARV by using fixed up properties. If you're going to use rental grade or lived in condition comps, just know that your ARV is lower than what it will really sell for, so make sure to adjust for that. Mistake number 4. Just averaging the sales price and not coming up with the price per square foot model. If you want the most accurate reflection of what your property will sell for after it's been fixed up, you have to find the average price per square foot and then multiply that by your subject property square footage. This method takes a little bit more time and a little bit more math, but it's the most accurate way to find your ARV. All right, if you watched the video this far, I've got 2 things for you. First, go to wholesalingfreedomacademy.com/ARV, and you're going to get my free comping rulebook, which is going to highlight everything we discussed here and more. And also, you're going to get a free 7-day trial of batch leads, which not only gives you full property data on any property and gives you free list of motivated sellers in your market that are ready to sell and need to sell, but it also gives you free skip tracing, and most importantly, it makes comping a breeze by pulling comps for you. All you have to do is put in your subject property address, go over to the comparable sales tab, set your parameters, and then click the thumbs up for the comps you want to use. And Batch Leads automatically gives you the most accurate ARV using the price per square foot method. This is a game changer and helps you comp properties quicker and more accurately. So go to wholesalingfreedomacademy.com/ARV and get your free 7-day trial of Batch Leads today. Now, if you're completely new and you need to practice comping, here's how you can do it. Go on Zillow or Redfin, pick a random fixer of a property and try to comp it. Compare your ARV to what local investors are paying, or you can join a local real estate meetup or Facebook group and see how wholesalers and flippers are running their numbers. But at the end of the day, the best way to learn is by doing real deals. So don't get stuck over analyzing. Go out there, talk to sellers, run your numbers, and make offers. And if you now feel like a comping pro and you're ready to use ARV to make offers, make sure to check out my other video on coming up with your MAO, your max allowable offer. All right, y'all, that's it. That's how you calculate the ARV the right way. If this video helped you, drop a comment below and let me know what part was the most useful. And if you're serious about quitting your 9-to-5 job and want to build a successful wholesaling business that gives you financial freedom, but most importantly, time flexibility and time freedom, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications because I'm putting out wholesaling content every week to help you close your first deal and quit the rat race. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next video.